Good morning. Let me add my welcome to the few others that you had this earlier today. Welcome to the Investor Relations Conference for 2016. You heard Alan, you heard Amanda. It is my turn now to share with you a little bit about home care, the role that it plays in our portfolio, the strategy that we've got. But first, let me begin by sharing with you a little bit about the journey that this category has been on for the last few years. If you have a look at the history of this category over the last few years, you would see that in 2007, we weren't sitting in exactly a pretty place. For the previous several years, growth was slow. We were growing lower than the market, losing share. And it required resetting the business, investing in it, and getting it back to growth. Several actions taken between 2007 or 8 till now has shown that we've stepped up our growth. Growth is now competitive. We are gaining share consistently, and over the last 6 or 7 years have grown ahead of the market and all our key competitors globally. It has meant, the resetting of our business over this period has meant that profitability in the early years was modest. We were hovering around 6% or so for a while, and it was towards the end of 2014, many of you would recollect that we shared with you our belief that this category now is at a stage where we should be able to step up our margins as well, which means continue the growth which was in line or ahead of the market and have a sharp step up in our profitability. You would see that we had indicated that we'd like to get to a 10% margin in the medium term, and we are broadly there at the end of the first half. Momentum has been good, and we feel convinced that there is opportunity for further value creation in the journey that we are on. Now, what has led to this performance? There have been two drivers, at least for this. The first one is the fact that we have strong brands. Brands that are used by billions of people across the world. Brands that are in leading positions. And this is really what's helped us. Over the last 6 or 7 years, these brands have been strengthened. We've invested more in BMI, in product quality. Almost 70% of our products now are blind winning products, and over 95% of our equities, our turnovers, comes from equities which are growing or stable. That's a wonderful position to be in. The other reason why we have succeeded is our footprint. Our footprint is such where 80% of our business comes from emerging markets. With 80% of our footprint in emerging markets, with shares which are strong, we are leading where we play with over a 30% share in the markets which we play in. We have strong positions in the top 7 out of the 10 markets. We are number 1, and by far. All of this works for us. Recognize the fact that our presence in emerging markets does pose challenges because we deal with more volatility in the short term. But we've been there for decades. We understand what it means. And as we learn to deal with it, we believe that this footprint of ours will give us an opportunity to get better growth because these markets are likely to show more secular and stronger growth into the future. So these are some of the reasons why we've succeeded, and they also augur well for us as we look ahead. I want to now remind everyone of the role that Graham talked about for this category. He spoke about Unilever on a journey to value creation and unlocking value. Within that, home care has a role which is absolutely aligned with what Unilever is looking to do. If anything, we need to drive it even harder. We want to step up the profitability in laundry, and we want to actually grow our HHC business harder. And that's going to help create the value that we look for. We have a strategy in place to achieve this, and what I thought I would do is to share with you what our approach is to deliver on the role that we've got. The strategy that we've got, we have called, the shorthand for it is winning today, winning tomorrow. Winning today, winning tomorrow recognizes and acknowledges that at all points in time, as leaders, we have to do the dual task of running the business for this quarter, next quarter, and the year, which is managing the short term. But at the same time, having an eye on the future, taking steps today which will build a portfolio and a set of capabilities which will ensure sustainable growth and value creation in the times to come. Delivering on that has 3 pillars for us. At the first and foremost is our absolute commitment and discipline to brilliant basics. In every business, more so in the home care business, execution and getting things right and being disciplined about it is often the difference between winning and losing. The second aspect is around portfolio reshaping. We know that the world is changing very, very rapidly. Needs are changing, benefits are changing. And we need to build a portfolio which will be relevant for the changed world we find ourselves in. And the third is an end-to-end value creation drive that we need to have. All of this underpinned by the organizational initiative that we have got, which cuts across everything, which is the Connected for Growth program that Graham referred to, and all our Alan and Amanda mentioned as well. This is our strategy. We've made good start in the strategy. When it comes to brilliant basics, I mentioned right at the beginning, we've got strong brands, but they need to be kept relevant and contemporary. Over the last few years, we've invested in our products, and I mentioned earlier, 70% of our products now have blind wins. That's a wonderful position to find yourself in. We've got a codified market development model. As people move from proxy products to things in dishwash like bars, to liquids, to machine wash, we see value creation along the way. In laundry, as people move again from bars, powders, liquids, machines, again we see value creation happening along the way. And driving this forward creates enormous value for us. We have been doing this consistently, and we see enormous opportunity going forward in the space. We've also been exploring how we can enter related segments, segments which offer new avenues for growth. The best example I can talk about is our entry into what we call ancillaries, but these are nothing but pre-treaters and wash boosters. As more and more people start moving into machine wash, the need for you to have pre-treaters and wash boosters goes up because human intervention, which can happen in a hand wash context, doesn't take place. We entered Brazil, extending our iconic Omo brand out there, and over the last 2 years, we've been very pleased with the progress that we've made. We've got shares in excess of 20% already, and feel confident to extend it in other markets. Over the last few months, we've now extended it to Argentina, to Colombia, to Chile, and will soon be extending it across other markets in Latin America. We've also been looking at geographies which can help expand our footprint. 2 years ago, you would recollect, we entered the Gulf and Arabia. And in this spirit, we continue to feel pleased at the progress that we are making in terms of building a business there. All of these things that we do require investment. And in order to be able to afford these, to create a business which will be relevant for the future, and yet improve our bottom line, we have to step up our savings rate. Over the last few years, we've been looking at a sharp step up, and we've found that although we were driving savings even earlier, we found a way to step this up by almost a third. Bulk of this enabled by programs like simplification of our different formulation chassis, and the complexity which had been created over a period of time. You see these numbers here. These are the sorts of reduction that we've had in 2015 over 2014, and there is more to do in this space, and we believe there is further simplification opportunities that we've got. Simplification on its own is easy, but the challenge that we've got is we will do this without ever giving up our winning positions in the markets that we are in. So it's not going to be simply a blindly global approach to formula which don't win in the market, because that simply makes no sense. And that's what requires the clarity in terms of consumer habits, water conditions, competitive context, and streamlining our portfolio to win there and yet reducing the complexity. Now, while we've had a great start, I mentioned up front that winning in the future will require us to build a portfolio and capabilities relevant for the world which we find ourselves in. If that needs to be done, you first need to start with a point of view of what this future is going to be. We've done this exercise. We've looked at the mega trends, and you've seen those before, and they're unlikely to change. But we filtered those mega trends through the lens of our category. What does it mean for us? When you look at the consumer, we are going to see hyper-segmentation, hyper-fragmentation in consumers and channels. We are going to see more people in this world. We are going to see people with more money. There will be about 200 million women who will come into the workforce over the next decade. There will be a continued drive towards urbanization. Today, more than 50% of the people live in urban cities. It's predicted that by 2050, 2/3 of this world will be in urban cities. This shift offers plenty of opportunities for our businesses. More people, more money, urbanization, nuclear homes means more homes, more surfaces. All of this means more growth and more opportunity. But it also has some challenges. The drive towards urbanization means that infrastructure will be under pressure. Health and hygiene issues will rise. We know water will be a big issue going forward. It's estimated that over half the world will live in water-stressed conditions over the next 10 years. That's a challenge, but also a potential opportunity for us if we can factor it in. Having thought through all of this, we've now looked at what should we be doing as a business and how can we better place to mitigate some of the risks and benefit from some of the opportunities that we see. The first thing that we did was to look at our existing portfolio. Within our existing portfolio, there are parts of the business which are either at the confluence of many of these mega trends and will benefit from it. These two, fabric conditioners is one of them. As people have more income, as more people join the formal workforce, clothes become more important, people are seeking more sensorial experiences. There is absolutely no reason why fabric conditioners won't keep growing strongly in the years to come. Household care is another category which has similar characteristics and therefore will show superior growth. Both these continue to have growth ahead of the market or the average of home care and have a margin potential which is higher than the average. Both that we will drive very hard in the years to come. But that is as far as these categories are concerned. I want to move back to fabric cleaning. And what is it that we need to do in fabric cleaning to make sure that we are ready for the future? Have a look at this chart. If you look at this chart of consumer benefits, this chart is really saying how our business is today. Over 90% of our business today is focused on delivering benefits like stain removal, whiteness, fragrance, etc. And a smaller proportion on benefits like care, hygiene, naturals, eco-friendliness, etc. Those benefits, which are relatively small in our portfolio, are likely to grow at over twice the rate of the market. It is absolutely clear that if you have to keep winning into the future, you have to build stronger positions out there. That's why we need to strengthen and build our Skip brand, which will stand for care. That's why we need to extend neutral from the small pockets which it is in to start owning the sensitive space which we've got. That's why, and in some ways, the rationale behind some of the acquisitions that have been made recently, 7th generation of business, built around naturals, purpose at its core, addressing millennials, and leveraging the emerging channels like e-commerce becomes a perfect fit. With 8 million people dying of pollution and health-related issues, and that's what the WHO talks about, we are convinced that things like the Blue Air brand that we've bought, which is delivering products which will allow you to breathe safe air, will become a big opportunity for us. So it just gives you a sense and an example of how we think of our business, how we have a point of view of the future, and how the actions that we are taking are strategically consistent with the future as we see it. If we manage the present, shape our portfolio along these lines, we will continue to have a business which will thrive in the emerging world that we find ourselves in. Now, as we do this, there are two other things that will help us build the capabilities to win. One of them is leveraging USLP, making sure that it is embedded in our business, making sure it is the inspiration for our innovation as we think ahead. Because USLP is nothing but our point of view of what the future is going to be. We called out water. You heard me talk about the fact that over half the world will be water stressed. And therefore, we have no choice but to find a way to waterproof our portfolio. We started this journey, and I'm really pleased that over the last few months, our first two initiatives have landed in the market. In South Africa, we took Sunlight, a key brand out there, and in our main wash product have introduced technology which will make it rinse efficient. One rinse less, dramatically lesser water required in a hand wash condition. We also went to India, and our Rin brand has gone, the bar portfolio has moved into a rinse efficient formulation that we put in. The beauty of both of these is that it is not just a rinse-efficient formulation that we put in. As a result of the changes made, it delivers a superior experience to the consumer. So there's a performance win that you get, because consumers, despite the water challenges, are simply not wanting to buy something which will save them water, but comes with a performance penalty or a price penalty. That's not okay. And that's really where the effort has gone in over the last few months. We also believe deeply that into the future, people will actively seek brands which embed a purpose which is deeper and goes beyond the delivery of functional benefits that products offer. That's why, over the last 2 years, each of our brands is trying to identify a purpose that it can stand for, and make a difference and play a larger role in society beyond the functional benefits. Once again, hasten to add that the presence of a purpose does not give any brand the license not to perform in its core category. It must continue to be a high-performing product, delivered at the right price. That's table stakes, but it won't be sufficient to be differentiated in the future, and that's why brands need to embed purpose, and that's the journey that we are on. So that's as far as leveraging the USLP and building brands with purpose. I now want to move on to the third element of our strategy. How do we create end-to-end value creation? We've had a good start over the last 2 years, but we do believe there is more opportunity into the future. There are 3 elements. The first one is what we've been driving over the last 2 years, and the progress that we've made since we got into this new role has largely been on account of the 5S program. The 5S program is not rocket science. It is simply a very disciplined and rigorous look at the totality of the value chain and subjecting every element of cost to one simple question. Does it add more cost than value, or does it add more value than the cost which it adds? That simple assessment starts throwing up opportunities. Those opportunities can be in one of the 5 areas that we've listed below. I'll give you a few examples to indicate what this could be. I might have shared with some of you how we came up with simple ideas around specifications. We used to buy silica for some of our laundry formulations. We also buy SLES, which is a surfactant for some of our laundry formulations. Because the largest user of SLES and silica in our business was not laundry. For silica, it was oral care, and for SLES, it was hair care. The specifications that we were buying were specifications which were good for hair care products or for oral care products. Now, laundry products don't require those specifications, and therefore they were over-designed specs for the purpose of laundry. Now, does this rocket science? It's not rocket science, but being granular, disciplined, and going into every little detail exposes opportunities. Let me give you a third example. It was in our packaging and our secondary packaging. We had historically given specifications which are based on guidance. Is it has 3-ply, what is the size, what is the weight, etc. But technologies have evolved. We continued to do that. And as we worked closely with our suppliers, many of them working in new technologies, they said to us, don't do that. Just tell us what output you want and what output specifications are required in terms of rigidity, in strength, in buckling strength, etc. And we may be able to deliver that without necessarily delivering on your specs, and that can save you cost. It is good for the environment. It's good for many other things. So several examples like this, and that's the journey that we will be on. As I look at the funnel, I do see opportunities for us to continue pushing this savings program as we've done over the last few years. That's the first bucket. The second bucket is around net revenue management. Now, what is net revenue management? It's nothing but the science and art of pricing. That's what it is. It is about taking an SKU or a pack and thinking about the pack, its price, in the channel that it operates in, keeping shopper missions and the roles that shoppers play out there. That throws up opportunities. We believe, based on early work, that it could be up to a percentage in terms of what you could get out of a disciplined application of NRM. Percentage, 1% could contribute to top line, often in a margin accretive manner, and that's all good stuff. And the last bit is zero-based budgeting. Enough has been said about zero-based budgeting. Graham spoke about it. There are many opportunities that we see, whether it's in the BMI line through ensuring that we don't end up in situations where we are beyond saturation point and well into the diminishing returns of that media, or in terms of wear-outs, or in terms of production cost, or in terms of promotional effectiveness that we've got. All of these are opportunities that we will drive hard as we look ahead. So that's as far as the end-to-end value creation is concerned. So those were really the three building blocks of our strategy: brilliant basics, portfolio reshaping, and end-to-end value creation. I mentioned right at the beginning that this program will be enabled by our Connected for Growth initiative that we've got. And our Connected for Growth initiative, very simply, is a means by which we can become more consumer-focused, externally focused but internally aligned, driving speed and agility, being on top of trends, being able to respond quicker. That's what we are out to do. And I think all the changes that we've made about pushing decision-making down, being closer to the market, providing decision rights to the country category teams, and making brand communities work, we believe will help us strike the right balance between global scale and local relevance. In the home care business, we think of being local not as a compromise that businesses need to make because you have no choice. There is a local reality and there's a global scale that multinationals need to work on. We almost think of it as a deep reason for success. We want to be proudly local, not think of it as a compromise, like I said. And when we leverage this effectively, I have no doubt that we will be better placed than local players who simply are local for local in everything, and far better than other organizations, and benefit, like I said, from the global and local scale that we've got. We are also driving capabilities hard. You heard of Digital 2.0. And that essentially is a massive program to build organizational capabilities and ecosystem and tools and processes to allow brands to engage with consumers in this connected world, but also people capabilities. Alan referred to how many hours and days our people have spent. 98% of all our people have now completed 3 rounds. And that doesn't stop with people who are joining the organization. Everyone in the organization has relevant programs, including me, in terms of what elements of digital that we need to become familiar with in order to operate in the world that we find ourselves in. So those really were the enablers that we've got, which will help us execute this. So to summarize, I would really say that we have a new role, a role which was announced 2 years ago. We made a good start. We've got good momentum in terms of top and bottom line. We are clear that there's an opportunity for us to continue doing well, but it will require us to do things differently because the world is changing. And we will actively shape our portfolio and capabilities to continue winning in the future. These are the few things that we will do: drive HHC and Fabcon, address emerging benefit segments in fabric cleaning, leverage the USLP, make it integral to us. It must be the reasons for our success and the inspiration for our innovation, and drive end-to-end value creation. That's all that I had to say at this stage. I would only end by saying we've had a good start. It's clear to us that our strategy is working, and we have the confidence and belief that there's more value to be unlocked as we go down this path. That's it. And now over to...
Great. Yeah, again, we've got about 5 minutes for Q&A. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, James. Oh, sorry. No, Eileen first, and then James, yeah.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions. The first one is, you've talked about wanting to balance growth with margin. So what sort of growth are you targeting now? Is high single digit still the aim? And then secondly, you've pretty much hit your 10% margin target now, right? So is there a new target that you're working towards now that you can share with us?
So as far as the first is concerned, I think we've always maintained that we want growth which is in line or ahead of the market. The absolute number would vary because we've seen how volatile markets and market growths are. And therefore, I don't want to get into an absolute number, but we remain committed to making sure that our growth is competitive. And that we believe is important, because the day you lose that, then your margin expansion program is not sustainable. Yeah? So that's really my comment. As far as margin is concerned, yes, we are close to 10. I think there's an opportunity for further value creation as we move forward and stepping up our margins. Again, difficult to give a number, but I think it would be safe to say, if you were to look at the role that this category has within the overall Unilever portfolio, we should be looking at expanding our margins ahead of the Unilever average.
Good. And then James. Yes, sir.
Graham made the point that local brands were taking a lot of market share. Is that something you're seeing within the home care business? How does the dynamic of home care alter from the group as a whole in terms of other global brands, local brands, and private label?
I think the phenomenon of local brands is true across all categories. They are growing, but the only thing is, so are we growing share. We see many strong local brands, whether it is Aba in Vietnam or Mac in South Africa or Wings in Indonesia. All of them are strong competitive players. From our standpoint, we continue to win because we have, and we will continue to win in the future based on our ability to remain quick and relevant and address the local trends faster than we might have done earlier, because the world is changing very rapidly. So a short answer is local brands are also doing well in home care. And in many ways, those must be the players that we must keep an eye on. The changes that we are making to our organization, our decision making, our ways of working are all geared to make us faster and more effective, winning not just against the multinationals, but also against local players.
So if we don't have any more questions, then I'll ask Kevin Havelock to come to the stage for refreshments.